But I want to just really quickly, just pick your brain about this, right? So Wingate beat Virginia Union. So we are not going to see Jada Byers and Virginia Union versus Eric Phoenix, Northern Scotland, DeAndre Duhart, and Benedict College. But I think we're going to see a very compelling game where Wingate plays against Benedict, and both of them are top defenses in Division II. You have Wingate, they're 9-2 on the year. They played Shaw and Fayetteville State. They hold their opponents to 10.9 points per game, 68 yards rushing, 144 yards passing, 8 passing touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns allowed. And I'm not factoring in what, the game was on Saturday. This is before that game. And you have Benedict that has very similar numbers. And a part of me is a little bit nervous because Wingate did find a way to sort of shut down Jada Byers, who is a dynamic running back. And you see Benedict can go through the air like we did see in the SIAC championship, but they are a run-first team. So I'm sort of nervous. So I want to get your perspective. And I want us to be honest. Do we think, I'm going to give my opinion too, do we think that Benedict is going to pull this off? They're number 1 seed. Like, they're the favorite. So, do we think that Benedict is going to beat Wingate? And if so, how can that happen?
Well, I'll say this. They're the favorite in our mind. They're not the favorite in the rest of the world's mind, okay? And I think that I hope Benedict understands that they're not the big dog in this fight. They're actually the underdog. And it's something that I think has helped them through the rest of the year because they go down to Fort Valley on their homecoming. Like they're even though they had beaten Elizabeth City, nobody was really saying, they were beating them, but nobody was really saying, hey, whatever. When they get to a real test, they're going to crumble. And I think that underdog mentality is helpful to them. So I don't want them to get high on this number 1 seed because every SIAC team that was undefeated that went into the D2 playoffs lost first round. Well, this is the second round because they get a bye, but they usually would lose first round. Okay. They have dominated. I'm scared for them because I wish Tuskegee would have given them a better fight. I want to see how do they handle being not first. How do you handle being punched first? It was just one of those things like they're good at jumping out. Well, then people would say, well, don't speak that they're going to get behind. How do you say they're going to get behind? I looked at Wingate opening drive. They were east, west. They were side to side. They just kept, they put, it was an opening drive that you can tell their offensive coordinator had worked on the entire, he knew this is what I'm calling. Okay. This is my opening drive and it's going to work. Yeah. And it did. And it got them reeling. What I don't like, okay, and I don't really know a lot about CIAA football other than the games that I do. I watch it, vaguely, okay, because at the end of the day, I'm SIAC man, and eventually they're going to become the enemy, okay? Eventually, it's cool, hey, brother, but yeah, I want us to beat y'all when we play. So, when Virginia Union went out on offense, they were excited for that first drive. Like they were, you could tell they was all right, we go down and do the same thing. When they have to punt, their body language was like, wait, I know we were gonna meet this kind of physicality. It was, they had this down coming off the field. And I'm like, hey coach, now you gotta talk them guys up. I don't know what y'all thought this was. This not nobody in y'all conference. These teams feel like you play subpar football. That's how they feel. And every time you play one, they play with that same mentality that they are just better than you, that they have better coaches than you, that everything about them is better than you. It's in their energy. It's just how they exude when we play them. If we don't get our guys to say, stop waiting till the second half to say, oh, we can hang around and play with these guys. No. You, as a coordinator on the offense side of the ball, you have to have your best plays lined up and say, we're scoring on the first. I'm all in on my opening drive on these teams. We sit around, we get behind, and we have to play from behind. So when it comes to Benedict and Wick, I don't want that Lane College Benedict to show up. I don't want that Miles College Benedict to show up. What scares me is that when Benedict is faced with a decent defense, they have problems. They had problems in that Miles game. Okay. That's just being honest about it. They had a few problems in that Albany State game. Now I know you're gonna have problems with this Wingate game, this Wingate team, okay? Because I just saw what they did. But I think Benedict is so big up front. I think they're so experienced at front that those guys won't get rattled. But I want that same Benedict that opened up on Tuskegee. I want that same Benedict to come out, because if that Benedict shows up, Wingate doesn't stand a chance. And the real game is going to be between if they get Delta State or West Florida. Now, that's a whole nother ball game because that's GSC football. Okay. So we have to come back and talk about how I feel about the GSC. But I want them to beat Wingate convincingly and do it in a way to show that they're dominant, because Benedict has been dominant in the SIAC. They have dominated. They showed they can dominate a team in the CIAA. They can be dominant. But it's going to be a test because you're going to be playing a team that feels like that they can beat you. I think after Benedict after they beat Albany State, I think the rest of the schools was like, hey, they're a powerhouse. So they were just playing to see if they could play with Benedict. You used to see how the schools like, I know when during the Clark game with Benedict, they were talking to Coach Slater, and Coach Slater was like, yeah, we're going to test that line out. We're going to see if it's as good. Teams start testing them out, okay, because they were like, they were the standard, okay, in the conference this year. That team not going to view you as the standard. They're not going to view you as, we just testing this out. We're coming to beat you. We don't care that it's at your house. And you look at their past history with, they play a lot of CIAA schools. So, they might have that opinion, after they just did what they did to Virginia Union. I think that kind of helps Benedict, because in their mind it's like, look what we just did to this guy, Jada Byers has.
Jada Byers.
Yeah. Hey, we were just able to hold them to 18. Only thing that I like Benedict's team speed. I like their size. I think Benedict is a much stronger team than Virginia Union. And we have to give that. We have to owe that because they beat who they were supposed to beat. I know, like, people was talking about Virginia Union being the best team in the CIAA, blah, blah, blah. The best team beat who they're supposed to beat. Okay. They didn't beat Shawan. Okay. So that's the difference between a good team and a great team. Benedict has proven they're a great team. They beat everybody they were supposed to beat. Okay. They beat all four, okay, of the solid teams in the SIAC. They took down Albany State, they took down Fort Valley, they took down Tuskegee, they took down Miles. So I want them to go and show that the reason why they dominate the SIAC is because they are a dominant team. So I think they'll get past Wing, and I think we'll be talking next week about if they can beat a Delta State or West Florida. This might be the greatest team to come out, the greatest team in the SIAC in the last 30, 40 years. Yeah.
Maybe in ever, but definitely last 30, 40 years for sure. But they're going to play Delta State. Like, Delta State, Patrick Shegog is that guy. Like, to have a quarterback that is averaging 2,000 yards passing, and he was such an integral part in beating down Valdosta. I can't stand Valdosta because they beat HBCUs all the time. They ain't played Tuskegee. Tuskegee would have given that work, okay? But listen, they played Fort Valley a couple times, and like they beat us down. They played Winston-Salem. They beat Winston-Salem in the 2012 national championship. So like I got beef with Valdosta State. It's good people down there. I know some folks that went there, but I got beef with Valdosta State with football because they just beat HBCUs. But I think Delta State is going to be who Benedict faces if they make it past this. So I think they see two different tests. they see a defensive test when you face a defense that's just as dominant as yours, because those numbers are eerily similar to Benedict's numbers for Wingate. Like especially like, you know, that number rushing, they have a better, you know, on paper, a better rush defense. And they show that against the Jada Byers that I thought was like Shannon Sharp type dominant, because the numbers that Jada Byers was putting up, I'm like, this is our generation's Shannon Sharp. Against Delta State, they're playing an offense that they haven't seen, because Tuskegee had a great offense and y'all had shootouts, but y'all don't got a Patrick Sheekhawk. Like y'all don't got him. And we had him, we have a different conversation. So I think with this Wingate game that's going to be on HBCU League Pass Plus at 1 p.m. on Saturday, what I believe we're going to see is that we're going to have to see Benedict really succeed in a low-scoring game. I think field goals are going to matter. I think, you know, that run game, they got to run outside. They got to really run outside. Like you said, east to west. They got to really go east to west, because that middle's going to be stuffed, because they were stuffing that middle on Jada Byers. I think we're going to have to see Eric Phoenix be the playmaker that he was against Tuskegee. He might have to pass for 344 yards. He might have to really take that ball and scramble and find his opportunities. They might have to find a way to stretch out that defense, because I think Wingate's run defense is so dominant is that they're going to be the team that forces Benedict to pass. So my thing is Eric Phoenix going to be ready? I think he will be, but we have to see that, because I don't think Ja'Cory Lane was truly ready. The stats, you know, look pretty good, but Jada Byers is that team. You've said this before on our side spaces on Twitter, that Benedict is a well-rounded team. And then you have Coach Thomas, our co-host, like they have two running backs. They have multiple running backs, but you got Noah Scotland and DeAndre Duhart. But they weren't even who won that game against Tuskegee. It was really Eric Phoenix making it happen and moving them down the field. He led the team in rushing. So I think that Eric Phoenix is going to be who really leads them, because Wingate is not a good scoring team. But their defense, they lock folks up. Like they like the police. They lock folks up.
What I saw with in that Virginia Union game, I was really impressed with the understanding of his pocket by the quarterback of Wingate. I saw the ends for Virginia Union try to get to him, but really undisciplined. But because of his pocket presence and his depth, knowing where he is and knowing that there's no way they can get to him, he doesn't get rattled. What's going to be interesting to me is Benedict's defensive line. I think Benedict's defensive line is a better. They're more disciplined than Virginia Union's defensive line is. I don't think Wingate is going to score like that on Benedict. Running east to west on Wingate. Yes, they stuffed the run. They stuffed the run on Virginia Union. But it was Virginia Union's offensive line. Okay, it was just their offensive line. I tweeted the left tackle for Wingate on the offense. He was getting that end for Virginia Union, throwing him out the way, and he was at the linebacker. Like, I mean, he was eating the entire game. I'm like, he's not gonna be able to do that with the ends with Benedict. And you're not throwing those big boys off. Okay, so that's not gonna happen. On the offensive side, Benedict is just too big. Benedict should beat Wingate by 20 points. When you just made Virginia Union showed us why they lost to Shawan. That's what happened. They showed us why they lost to Shawan and why they're not the CIAA champs. They showed us that. And I know that may make some people mad, but that's just what happened. Okay. And Benedict doesn't have those problems. The problem is the moment going to be too big for Benedict. Okay. Yes, this team is going to play you harder than any other team has played you the whole year. Yes. But can you beat Benedict? Benedict doesn't. There's a lot of times when schools go into the playoff, you have to say, oh, I hope they play their best game. I hope they can do this because this team is going to shut this down. Benedict does not have that problem with Wingate. That's not the game they're going to have. If Benedict just plays Benedict football, they will beat Wingate easily. Now, their kicking game, that's their Achilles heel, okay? That is Benedict's Achilles heel. That's what scares me about looking down the road to a Delta State, okay? Is that portion of their game. But, man, I plan on being able to cut that game off at halftime. I plan on it. I think it was the best matchup that they could have gotten. I would not want them to have a GSC team first round. It will remind me of, I think that's the 2001 season where Valdosta State won. Albany State played Valdosta first game of the year. They beat Valdosta State. Albany State goes undefeated. Valdosta State has one loss to Albany State. Valdosta State plays Albany State first round of playoffs. They beat Albany State when they play the second time, and they win the national championship. So I'm with you on that disdain for Valdosta State, because that was the year that Albany State was supposed to win a national championship because they blew everybody out in the conference. So I'm happy that we have another program that's not as dominant. Okay, Wingate is not as dominant as other D2 programs against HBCU, so they don't really have a real deep historic tradition of just beating us. So Benedict just played Benedict. Like I'm going to go. I was debating whether I was going to go, but I'm going to go. I'm going to wear to a Skegee, but I'm going to be supporting. I'm going to be supporting Benedict, and I'm going to get my fish plate from the alone.
Man, like you better get that fish plate for real, man. Like, nah, that's real life. And man, listen, it better be free too. Yeah, at this point, you supporting. At this point, you about to buy some tickets. You know what I'm saying? So it better be for the free with the side of fries. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, look, because some folks they want to do soul food. We don't want the slow. We want the fries. At least I want the fries. Yeah. Just give me the fries. Like, keep the coleslaw at that point. Yeah. But I think that that's an amazing point, and I think it's going to be a great game, especially going into you have the Bayou Classic, you have of course the D2 and FCS playoffs that are coming up. Of course, we're locked in for D2, because of Benedict. But FCS, I want to see what the other teams look like that got in instead of FAMU. I want to see what those teams look like for sure. It's going to be HBCU League Pass Plus. Benedict versus Wingate is going to be in Columbia, South Carolina, 1 p.m. on HBCU League Pass Plus. Make sure to check that out. But this was a great conversation. We got to do this again. We do this every week on our Twitter Spaces, the SciAC Talk. But let everybody know where they can find you on social media, because you got a lot of knowledge, man. Where can they find you on social media?
So on Twitter, I'm D2 HBCU Football. On TikTok, I'm SkegeeHistorian. On Instagram, I'm SkegeeHistorian. So either one of those pages. My TikTok is geared more towards Black history. Sometimes I talk a little sports on there, but my Twitter is designated where I talk about D2 football, more importantly, SIAC football. And sometimes I do talk about a lot of history of like HBCUs that people didn't even know exist in their football program. So that's how you can find me.
Most definitely, man. And I want to say once again for everybody, you can find us on Twitter and TikTok at the HBCU Pulse, on Instagram and YouTube, because YouTube has handles. That's at HBCU Pulse. And also you can check us out on HBCU League Pass Plus channel 201. That's HBCU Pulse channel. As you're waiting for the Benedict Wingate game to come on, turn on the 201. You got some good program. You're going to see some familiar faces on channel 201 on Saturday. I'm going to make sure of that. But man, thank you so much for coming on. And as always, for everybody, we'll see you on the other side.
Like what you hear?
Yeah.
Subscribe to HBCU Pulse Radio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, head to HBCUPulse.com to stay up to date on what's going on in the HBCU community. Thank you for listening to HBCU Pulse Radio.